Hello everyone and welcome back to Carvenus 14. Now today we are going to be looking at, well not looking at Raiden Shogun. I mean, we'd all love to look at the Raiden Shogun, but we're going to be taking a look at what kind of builds you would want to be looking for if you are going to be rolling for her. Now, of course, we all know Raiden Shogun is supposed to be debuting in patch 2.1, and with that you guys will need to, well, obviously start farming for her and stuff, but if you guys want to know what you need for her and stuff like that and a basic kit overview, I've already made a video on that. I'll link to it in the description below if you guys want to see it. So yeah, before you guys actually watch this video, or if you've already before you guys watch this video, I would definitely check that video out, otherwise you won't really understand why we're going to be building her this way and such. But if you want the quick rundown, the reason we're going to be building her the way we're going to be building her is due to her second passive. Now, the way you really want to build Raiden Shogun is around her elemental burst, because her second passive and ascension stat will actually increase her electro damage bonus. So we're going to be building Raiden Shogun around energy recharge. That's the way you kind of want to build Raiden Shogun around, because Raiden Shogun's second passive basically makes it so that for every 1% above 100% energy recharge that you have, you will gain 0.4% electro damage bonus. Obviously, if you don't understand what that means, that basically means that, to put it into context, if I have 100% extra energy recharge, I would get a 40% electro damage bonus, effectively. That's what it's basically saying. So what that would basically mean is if you have 200% energy recharge in total with Raiden Shogun, you would get 40%, because you got 100% above the base 100% that you already get on all characters, if that effectively makes sense. So yeah, basically most of Raiden Shogun's damage is going to be coming from her elemental burst, or her ultimate, however you'd like to call it. So that's why we're going to be building her around her ultimate and her electro damage, as well as her energy recharge. So yeah, without further ado, let's get into the video. Now, as for weapons, this is the first section we're going to do. So the very first weapon I initially thought of is the prototype Star Glitter. Now, the prototype Star Glitter I think will actually be a very, very decent weapon for her, because one main reason is because, well, it obviously gives energy recharge, and 45.9% is actually a very, very decent amount of energy recharge. Base attack at level 90 as well is also 510, but another reason why I actually chose this weapon is obviously energy recharge, but it's also a craftable weapon. So if you guys do have any polearm prototypes, then the prototype Star Glitter is actually a really, really good free-to-play option. So yeah, it might even be better than some of the gacha options here than Favonius Lance. So yeah. And another reason why prototype Star Glitter I personally think will actually be really, really good is after you use an elemental skill, or Raiden Shogun's elemental skill, it will increase her normal and charged attack damage by 8% for 12 seconds, max 2 stacks. So effectively, what you could do with this weapon is you could use Raiden Shogun's elemental skill, right, and then use her elemental burst to go into her ultimate form, and when she's in her her sword stance, when she's using her sword, you can then you'll basically then get this attack bonus on her normal and charged attack, because she does normal and charged attacks in her ultimate that will be doing extra damage. And even if you aren't in her ultimate, you can still use this actually in in her normal form, basically when she's out of her ultimate. So you can use her elemental skill and then do normal and charged attacks and still get a decent amount of damage. So yes, you're trying to build for her ultimate, but if you try and build a lot into her ultimate, you could actually sacrifice a lot of her normal damage when she's outside of her ultimate. So yeah, this weapon will basically make it so that she's good in her ultimate and also gets a little bit of damage in her non-ultimate form, in her normal form, basically. So that's why I think this weapon is actually going to be a really good option, and the fact that it's free to play as well is really good. And let's not forget, it can stack 2 times. Now, that may be a little bit difficult for Baal to actually proc, because her elemental skill cooldown is on a 12-second cooldown. So literally as soon as the first stack ends, she's gonna have to redo it again. So she won't really, maybe she might not be able to get the second stack, but I believe if you are running I can't remember. I think the Electro Resonance actually decreases elemental skill cooldowns. I'm not sure though. So I believe the Electro Resonance does. I can't actually quite remember. But if it does, then you could run her with another Electro character and still be really good and still be good there. So yeah. Anyway, second option, the Favonius Lance, which gives energy recharge as well. Less energy recharge than the prototype Star Glitter. However, it does give a much more base attack, 55 more base attack than the prototype Star Glitter. So, yeah, at level 90. Now, its passive, basically, is your critical hits have a 60% chance to generate a small amount of elemental particles, which will regenerate 6 energy for the character. This can only occur once every 12 seconds, and the time goes down with refinement ranks. So, basically, if you're using Raiden Shogun as a support, this I feel as though is going to be a much better weapon for her support. This will basically allow her to get a critical hit, and when she does get a critical hit, she will generate 6 energy for the character. Now, what this means is she can actually pick up these orbs, or someone else can pick up the orbs, and then you can go into your ultimate or recharge someone else's ultimate and regenerate energy that way. So basically, this effectively makes Raiden Shogun's ultimate, it makes Raiden Shogun's ultimate uptime a lot more frequent, so you can basically recharge your characters, you know, your party members' energy, because that's what Raiden Shogun's ultimate actually does. It does damage as well as recharge everyone's energy over time. So yeah, it's really, really good. This would be a much better support weapon for her, I think. Because of the passive. So yeah, if you're planning on using Baal as a support, I think you can definitely make this weapon work. That is, of course, if you did obtain it through the gacha. Now, moving on to the next one, the Blackcliff Pole is a crit damage weapon. Now, yes, it is crit damage, not energy recharge, so you won't actually get as much electro damage bonus, but crit rate and crit damage on any DPS character is just good anyway, so that's why I decided to include it. Now, at level 90, it has 55.1% crit damage, which is a lot of crit damage. That's nearly a headpiece worth of crit damage. So yeah. And the base attack is 510, which is the same as the prototype Glitter, I believe. Yeah. The passive is after defeating an enemy, your attack is increased by 12% for 30 seconds. So that's a lot of, that's a, you know, a decent attack increase for a long amount of time, and this effect has a minimum of 3 stacks, and the duration of each stack is independent of each other. Sorry. So what that effectively means is, if you kill one enemy and then 5 seconds later you kill another enemy, and then 5 seconds later you kill another enemy, that will effectively mean that all stacks will be going, but when one stack ends, the others don't go away, which can actually be really good, because it means you can actually maintain the attack or the passive much more. So if the first stack runs out, you've still got 5 seconds on the second and 10 seconds on the third stack, and when the second one runs out, you've still got 5 seconds on the third stack. So it's really, really good in that regard. Of course, the one drawback to this weapon is the fact that you only receive this passive after you defeat an enemy. So basically, when you go straight into a fight without killing anyone, when you first enter a fight, basically, you won't actually get anything from the passive. It will only happen after you defeat an enemy. So there is that to take into account. But if your Raiden Shogun does like a crack ton of damage, then you're good to go, I guess. I mean, you play the game how you want. Now, level 4, I mean, number 4 is the deathmatch weapon. Also, if you want to know how to obtain the Blackcliff Pole, this is actually available in the Paimon monthly bargain shop. Now, I don't know if it's in the shop right now. I mean, I haven't checked the shop out in a while. But, yeah, basically this rotates on the shop along with the Royal Spear. So 1 month is the Royal set, and then the next month is the Blackcliff set. So that's how you actually obtain this weapon, through the Paimon bargain shop. The next weapon is the deathmatch. Now, it gives critical rate, which I actually prefer critical rate more to critical damage, because well, I would rather have more recurring critical damage than, you know, higher damage numbers but lower chance of you know, encountering them. So yeah, if that kind of makes sense. But yeah, anyway, crit rate 36.8%. Now this is actually more than a headpiece, if you didn't know. So a headpiece usually gives 31.1%. This gives 36.8%. So it gives more than a headpiece actually does. So running this weapon would be really, really good. However, the base attack is 454, which isn't actually that good, but I think the crit rate boost is definitely worth it. The fact that you don't even need to farm for a critical rate helmet and just get a critical damage one, which I believe is, I believe there is a higher chance of obtaining a critical damage helmet than a critical rate helmet, at least in my experience anyway. So yeah, this would be a really good weapon. And it's obviously the way you obtain the deathmatch though is it is a pay to win option. Well, not pay to win, but you know, you do have to buy the Gnostic Hymn on the battle pass, I believe. So you need to buy the battle pass, get to level 30, and then choose the deathmatch in order to obtain it. So you do have to put money into the game in order to obtain the deathmatch. But if you already have the deathmatch, then well, you don't have to pay anything, I guess. Unless you want refinements of it. Speaking of refinements, refinement rank 1, the passive is, if there are at least 2 opponents nearby, attack is increased by 16% and defense is increased by 16% as well. If there are fewer than 2 enemies nearby, attack is increased by 24%, so nearly double the value of the original attack. So basically, if you're going against a load of enemies, your attack and your defense will both be increased by 16%, which is actually a generous amount. And defense is, well, obviously it gives you more survivability, which is always good in this game, especially if you don't have a shielding unit. But if you're going against, let's say, a boss, then you're just going to get the attack bonus, which 24% for a boss fight is definitely going to be very, very helpful. So yeah, and you won't need the defense as much in a boss fight because yeah, they can hit hard, but the thing about bosses is you can easily see their patterns. So if you dodge well enough, then the defense isn't really needed there. So yeah, very good weapon altogether, in all honesty. I believe this is the last 4-star weapon. So yeah, this is the last 4-star weapon. Now well, I say the last 4-star weapon, then that's not actually the case, but yeah, the last, well, second to last 4-star weapon is called the Kaitian Cross Spear. Now, the Kaitian Cross Spear gives you elemental mastery, and at level 90, its base attack is 565, so the highest a 4-star can be, and elemental mastery is 110, which is actually a really, really nice amount. Now, this weapon is actually better for a support build on Raiden Shogun, so if you're planning on running her as a support, you can use this weapon, because the elemental mastery you don't really want to build on Raiden Shogun unless you're going to be going for her as a support. So yeah, it increases your elemental damage by 6%, which is always good, because as a support, you're going to be using her elemental skill quite a bit. After the elemental skill hits an opponent, the character loses 3 energy, but regenerates 3 energy every 2 seconds for the next 6 seconds. So what this effectively means is you will lose 3 energy initially after the elemental skill hits, but you will gain back 9 energy. So effectively, you're losing 3 and you're gaining 9, so you'll basically gain 6 energy overall. So yeah, you're going to be moving, you're going to be getting to your ultimate, you're basically going to be moving to her ultimate. So yeah. This effect can occur once every 10 seconds, and it can be triggered even when the character's not on the field. So Raiden Shogun's elemental skill does actually work off-field as well, if you didn't know, and it lasts for a really long time. It lasts for 25 seconds, which does actually mean that she can actually proc this passive twice using just 1 rotation of her elemental skill, which is really, really cool. I mean, that's actually very, very effective if you think about it. So yeah. And at refinement rank 5, it's 12% elemental skill damage, and you regenerate 5 energy over time for 6 seconds. So 5 multiplied by 3, that's 15. So in all, you'll be gaining at rank 5, at refinement rank 5, you'll lose 3 but gain back 15. So that will be around, yeah, 12 energy profit, basically. Now we're moving on to the 5-star weapons, and the first one I'm going to be talking about is the Primordial Jadewing Spear. Now the Primordial Jadewing Spear, it gives you critical rate, and at level 90 it has a critical rate of 22.1%, but the base attack is 674, so this base attack is actually the highest a 5-star weapon can actually be. So yeah, the critical rate is 22.1%, which actually isn't that bad of an amount if you think about it. So yes, it is less than a headpiece, but if you only need a smaller amount of crit rate in order to get your 1-to-2 ratio perfectly, then this is honestly a really, really good weapon. So yeah. And its passive is, on hit, it increases your attack by 3.2% for 6 seconds, and it can stack up to 7 times. Now, Raiden Shogun actually hits. She has a 5-hit combo, but she actually hits 3 times. So basically, she has 5 actual animations for her combo, but her 5th attack actually hits twice, so that effectively means that she will hit 6 times. So that's effectively what that means. So you will have to do, well, 1 and a bit of an attack rotation in order to actually get the full stacks on this, but this effect can occur once every 0.3 seconds, so because polearm characters attack very quickly, that's very easy to obtain. While in possession of the maximum stacks possible, your damage dealt is increased by 12%. Now, damage dealt actually scales higher than attack percent, which is really, really good. So this will apply to not only your attack percent, but your actual crit damage as well, which is really, really nice. So, yeah, and 3.2% over 7, so that would be around 22-23%, I think, if you get all the stacks, which is really good. And at max level, it would be 6% for 7 stacks, so 42% basically, and damage dealt up to 24%. So really, really good weapon. Next one will probably be the Staff of Homer. Now, the Staff of Homer, basically, it gives you a hell of a load of crit damage, which is 66.2%. This is actually more than a crit damage helmet will give you. 61% a crit damage. No, 62%, which is what a crit damage helmet will give you, compared to 66%. So, yeah, pretty much more than an actual headpiece. And the base attack is 608. Now, 608, it is lower than 674, but you know what? 600, having a base attack of more than 500 is actually really good in this game anyway, so yeah, this actually isn't really a drawback at all for this weapon. Now, your HP, the passive is your HP will be increased by 20%. Additionally, it provides an attack bonus based on 0.5% of the wielder's max HP. When the wielder's HP is less than 50%, the attack bonus is increased by an additional 1% of max HP. Now, the passive is not really going to synergize well with Raiden Shogun, because you don't really want to stack HP on her. You actually want to stack energy recharge on her. So the passive won't really be as good, and because Raiden Shogun, even if you do try and build HP on Raiden Shogun, she actually has for a 5-star, she has around 12,900 HP, which is only 200 more than Zhao. So she has really low base, well, not really low, but you know what I mean, like low base HP. So this weapon's passive won't really be that useful on her, but the crit damage is definitely still really good. So if you do have this weapon and no other weapon that's good on her, this weapon could honestly be really, really good. Now, onward to the Skyward Spine. Now, the Skyward Spine is an energy recharge 5-star polearm, and it gives you 36.8% energy recharge, which is a really nice amount, and 674 base attack, which obviously is the highest that any weapon can actually be in the game. It increases your critical rate by 8%, so that's just a straight out increased critical rate right there. So as soon as you equip this weapon, your crit rate will go up by 8% instantly, and it will increase your normal attack speed by 12%, which can actually be really good as well, because it means Raiden Shogun's combos will actually end much faster, so she can deal more damage. Additionally, normal and charge attack hits on opponents have a 50% chance to trigger a vacuum blade that will deal 40% of attack as damage in a small AoE, and this can occur no more than once every 2 seconds. So effectively, you can actually create like a small AoE burst type of damage with this weapon if you do proc it, and it's 40% of your attack, so if the more attack you have, obviously the more damage that this small AoE will actually do. So yeah, actually a really, really good weapon. I don't believe this can actually crit, but then again, I'm not so sure. So yeah, and it is once every 2 seconds, so you can proc it actually quite well, and because polearm characters, like I said, do attack, they actually have the most amount of hits on their combos. This could work really, really well on Raiden Shogun. So yeah. Now, moving on to the new weapons that are supposedly coming out for patch 2.1. The first one is actually called The Catch. Now, no idea why it's called The Catch, but there you go. It's a nice meme name, I guess. It gives energy recharge, and it has 45.9%, and its base attack is 510. So if you guys remember the prototype Star Glitter, the prototype Star Glitter has these exact same stats at level 90. Now, the question is, which one's actually going to be better? This one or the prototype Star Glitter? Now, what this passive is basically it increases your elemental burst damage by 16% and your elemental burst crit rate by 6%. Now, before you guys think, oh my god, her ultimate is going to do a load of damage, yes, it definitely is. However, I hate to break it to you guys, but from my understanding and from my knowledge, this will only affect her initial AoE slash. So you know her Masuo no Hitotachi, when she actually unsheathes her sword in her ultimate form and does a huge slash across the screen. Well, if you guys have no idea what I'm talking about, then you haven't seen the leaks. But basically, it's a very, very good one. I probably shouldn't have said that if you guys haven't watched it, but Ayo, it is what it is, I guess. But if you didn't know, this passive will only actually apply to the Masuo no Hitotachi. I don't believe it will actually apply to the swords. Of course, we need to actually test it out first. So once these videos come out of people doing tests, then we will actually see if the catch is actually, applies to the entire length of Raiden Shogun's ultimate. But from my understanding, it will only apply to the Masuo no Hitotachi, so the actual initial slash, not the sword, stance, not the sword damage that comes afterwards, basically. So the first phase, the initial slash, and the sword stance, which is the second part, this catch will only work on the first phase of the elemental burst, not the second phase. So yeah, this weapon, might not actually be that good on Raiden Shogun. But then again, I don't know. Why would they release this weapon? Why would they actually put this weapon, right, in the same patch that Raiden Shogun is going to be coming out? I mean, obviously we don't know that it's going to be coming out in the next patch, but because it's already on Honey Hunters, I'm presuming it will be. So yeah, maybe we'll have to investigate this weapon more, but from my understanding, this weapon's passive will only be available on the first phase of Raiden Shogun's ultimate and not the second phase. So yeah. Anyway, the 5-star weapon that is coming out, as you could probably tell, is the brand new polearm called Grasscutter's Light. It's a very, very nice looking weapon, by the way. Definitely Raiden Shogun's weapon, if you couldn't already tell by the passive and everything. But what it basically does is it gives you energy recharge 55.1%, which, if you guys didn't know, is actually more than an energy recharge timepiece. An energy recharge timepiece gives 51%. This is 55%, so a really nice amount. Base attack 608, which again is a really lovely amount. Now, the passive is your attack is increased by 28% of your energy recharge over the base 100%. So what this effectively means is the more energy recharge you build on Raiden Shogun, the more attack she's basically going to get. So yeah, this is going to be a really, really good amount. So what this effectively means is if you get like to 200%, 200%, you're going to get 28% increased attack. If you get to 300%, that's going to be, I mean, obviously 300% is impossible, but let's say you get to 300%, you will basically get to 56% attack. So yeah, that's how it works basically. You can gain a maximum bonus of 80% attack this way, right? Gain 30% energy recharge. Actually, my maths there in my explanation might have actually been a little bit wrong. I think it may have been wrong, but yeah, you can gain a maximum bonus of 80% attack. Now, gain 30% energy, what is it? Let me read this again because I felt as though I stumbled upon myself. So, your attack is increased by 28% of energy recharge over the base 100%, which again, like I said, the more energy recharge you build, the more attack you're going to get, which is why this weapon will synergize with Raiden Shogun so well, because you're going to be building into energy recharge on her anyway. This weapon will just make that even better. You can gain a maximum bonus of 80% attack this way, basically. Now, you'll instantly gain 30% energy recharge for 12 seconds after using an elemental burst. So, after you use your elemental burst, when you're in your sword, I believe this is after you use your elemental burst. It doesn't say after you come out of your elemental burst, so this is after you actually, if you're on mobile like I am, when you press the elemental burst button, or if you tap your Q on your keyboard for PC players, that's when this passive will actually come into effect. So when you do the initial slash, after that you'll gain 30% energy recharge for 12 seconds, which again is really good, because that means Raiden Shogun will actually regenerate even more energy in her ultimate form with this passive. And it will also mean that she gains even more electro damage bonus. So yeah, for 12 seconds, which is actually a lot longer than her ultimate lasts. So her ultimate lasts for 7 seconds or 8 seconds, and the ultimate lasts for 12 seconds. So it is a decent amount of time. And at Refinement Rank 5, if you guys are going for Refinement Rank 5, attack increased by 56% over the base 100% energy recharge. You can gain up to 120% attack this way and 50% energy recharge after you use your elemental burst, which again is a cracked amount. Now, Artifact sets. Now, obviously, I probably waffled on quite a bit with the weapon, so let's try and shrink down the video size by doing this. So, artifact sets, you've got 2-piece Emblem of Severed Fate and 2-piece Thundering Fury, which gives you 20% energy recharge from the Emblem of Severed Fate and the 15% electro damage bonus from Thundering Fury. Now, you could also go Shimenao's Reminiscence if you guys think you've got a load of energy recharge and you want to replace Emblem of Severed Fate with Shimenao's, with a little bit of attack. You can go with either Gladiators or Shimenao's Reminiscence, because they're both of their two sets actually you know, give 18% attack, and then two-piece Thundering Fury as well. Now I'm going to go, I've already farmed this set, so I've already got artifact sets for this, and I actually got very nice rolls on them as well. So yeah, I mean, the energy recharge timepiece was a bit of a pain, but we got there in the end. Sort of, but I'm not really disappointed with my outcome. But anyway, enough of my farming antics. We'll get back to the video. Now, artifact sets, again, the third one I actually recommend is a Thundering Fury. Now, it gives you 15% electro damage bonus. I wouldn't recommend this for DPS Raiden Shogun. I would more recommend this for support Raiden Shogun, because I feel as though DPS Raiden Shogun would actually benefit from these sets a lot more than 4-piece Thundering Fury. Like, if you're going to be using Elemental Mastery on your Raiden Shogun, then I think this will actually be really good. Now, the second part isn't really that useful. The reason being is because Raiden Shogun's skill cooldown is on a 12-second cooldown, but her skill actually lasts for 25 seconds, so she can have it up pretty much all the time. So there's no real need for the second part of the artifact set. So yeah, this one's basically a little bit useless, but it just increases your electro reaction damage, which can be really nice for support Raiden Shogun especially. Now, do keep in mind, Thundering Fury will not increase your swirl and your crystallize damage. Obviously, crystallize doesn't do any damage, but swirl, it doesn't actually increase its the electro swirl reaction damage. So do keep that in mind if you plan on running Raiden Shogun in like a swirl comp or something. Another really good support artifact is 4-piece Emblem of Severed Fate. Now, you get 20% energy recharge, which you want to build on Raiden Shogun, and it will increase your burst damage by 25% of her energy recharge. Your maximum you can get is 75% burst damage. Now, because you're going to be building energy recharge on Raiden Shogun anyway, in order to get her in terms of a support role, you want to build more energy recharge on Raiden Shogun, because she's going to be, you know, being a really good battery. The more energy recharge you provide on Raiden Shogun, the more energy she will actually regenerate for her party. So yeah, this could be a really good set on her. And like I said, this will only apply to the initial. This is exactly like with the catch weapon. So this will only apply to Raiden Shogun's actual initial phase 1 damage, not her phase 2 damage. So yeah. Now, I would personally recommend this set if you're going for a DPS, and if I was going for a support build on Raiden Shogun, it would honestly be quite difficult. I don't know if I'd go with this set or this set. I guess Emblem of Severed Fate might actually do more damage in terms of burst, but this one might actually be more consistent because you can use it out of your burst as well. So I don't really know for support, but I guess whichever one you've got a better substats on. But in terms of actual DPS, I would recommend this, because it's just going to be ultimately better. Unless you've got a crack ton of energy recharge already and you just want the attack bonus, then you can go for that instead. Now, in terms of artifact stats, again, you'd want to go for energy recharge or attack percent. Now, obviously, energy recharge you want to prioritize more than attack percent, but if you've got a load of energy recharge, then attack percent can also be useful as well. Obviously, you're going to be going for an electro damage bonus goblet, even if you're going for a DPS or a support, because most of her damage is coming from her electro sources. And in terms of headpiece, crit rate or crit damage, depending on your actual ratio. Artifact substats, you want to go for crit rate or crit damage, then energy recharge, and then attack percent. The reason it's in this order is because critical rate and critical damage is on a DPS is going to be the best actual substat to get anyway, no matter what they scale with, so that's why. Now, as for team comps, now this is what I plan on running for her team comps. Now, this is more of a DPS type of team comps, because I plan on playing Raiden Shogun as a DPS, if you didn't know. So, because I've been planning for her DPS a lot more, I haven't really had a lot of time to think about her support that much. So, support teams, I'm not really sure, but Raiden Shogun, because she's, well, I was going to say because she's an Archon, but that's not really a real reason. But because she actually has she's got very good battery capabilities, she is another one of those characters that can effectively fit in any team, just like Venti with his crowd control and, you know, vortex sucking, and Zhongli with his petrify huge meteor that he blows out of the sky. Yeah, and his shield. Those two characters can actually fit pretty much in any team. So Raiden Shogun, I think, is also going to be another one of those support characters that can fit in any team. So pretty much you can fit Raiden Shogun. If you're playing if you want Raiden Shogun as your support, she could basically fit in any team, obviously. But if you're going for a DPS, now obviously the main DPS is going to be Raiden Shogun, unless you plan on running a Raiden Shogun DPS team without Raiden Shogun. You can do that if you want. The second character is an Electro support character. Now, the reason I pick an Electro support character is actually a battery for Raiden Shogun. Now, you guys will obviously say that she doesn't really need the energy recharge because she's self-sufficient with the energy recharge that she already has. But another reason why an Electro support would actually be really good is because of the Electro Resonance. Now, the Electro Resonance obviously is not the best resonance. A lot of people actually say this is a really bad resonance for the Electro element, and it's one of the reasons Electro is not really that good. But the Electro Resonance in this case can actually be really, really good, because what it effectively does is it actually grants you energy particles after you do an Electro reaction. This is any Electro reaction, by the way. Overload, Electrocharge, Superconduct, Swirl, Crystallize, any Electro reaction, you will actually get extra energy particles. Now, this is really good not only for Raiden Shogun to keep her burst up, but it's also really, really good at generating energy particles for the entire team as well. So if your Raiden Shogun already has a load of energy recharge, you can actually just do an Electro reaction, swap out to one of your support characters, and then pick the energy particles up that way. So effectively, the Raiden Shogun team is basically a full battery team, whether you want to be, whether you're running her as a support or whether you're running her as a DPS. She's just going to be a battery no matter what the case is. So yeah. Third recommended character I would choose is a damage booster. Now, obviously, this is to boost damage. Now, this can be any form of damage booster, so it could be Bennett, it could be like an Elemental Mastery booster, which did actually recently get buffed in patch 1.6, so Elemental Mastery might actually be a really, really good booster for Raiden Shogun. Like someone like Kazuha or Sucrose, or even Venti if you have him. So, yeah, the reason I didn't include Venti here was because I forgot about Venti. So, yeah. You could also include, what's her name, Sayu. Now, Sayu's going to be coming out in patch 2, in Yoimiya's banner, which is supposed to be happening on August the 10th, I believe. So, yeah, August the 10th is a very scary day for me. I mean, it's A-level results day, so, yeah, very scared of that, but hopefully we do the best. Anyway, back to the game. Yeah, as I was saying, Sayu can actually help boost your damage, as well as provide you Elemental Mastery, and also heal you. So, yeah, she's like a 3-in-1 mini ninja, so she's really, really good in that regard. Now, your fourth character I actually put as filler character, so you can choose whoever you want. This character can be whoever you want, so another Anemo character if you're running a, you know, as an EM booster, or maybe another Pyro character if you're running Bennett. But if you're what my recommended filler character is, you want Pyro or Hydro characters for elemental reactions. Now, Hydro is, I think Hydro might actually be better on Raiden Shogun, but the reason I actually say this isn't because Overload is not a good reaction, it's because it's a really cracked reaction, it really is. But the reason I choose Hydro here is because, if you didn't know, Raiden Shogun is actually immune to electrocharged damage when she's in her ultimate form. Now, if you run a Hydro character, let's say Jingqi or Barbara, right, or Mona even, or Child, right, any one of the Hydro characters, and you've got Hydro on yourself through, let's say, Jingqi's Rain Swords or Barbara's Ring of Melodies, it will apply Hydro on you, or it will at least make you wet. So when you come into contact with an enemy, you will spread the wet effect. Now, of course, this isn't good, because what it means is you can effectively get, well, Jingqi's Rain Swords don't make you wet, but, you know, he can apply the Hydrostasis on enemies as well. So yeah, now, of course, because his Rain Swords are wet, they can get, you know, frozen or overloaded or something like that, right? But if you're running Hydro, and if you're facing a lot of Electro enemies, which there are in Inazuma, and you're in Raiden Shogun's ultimate form, you will not take any Electro Charge damage, or you won't take the Electro Charge stun. So basically, you get stunned if you get electrocharged. You won't actually take electrocharge stun or electrocharge damage in her ultimate, which is really, really good. Now, Of course, if you're going for much more damage, obviously Overload is better because the damage it provides is ridiculous, but I'm personally going to be running Hydro in my Raiden Shogun. I'm going for an Electrocharge comp with my Raiden Shogun than an Overload. And I'm not a fan of the way Overload actually scatters smaller enemies around, it just ruins my flow, so yeah. Or you could go with a shield character for extra survivability, so someone like Zhongli, who with the buffs actually reduces enemies' elemental resistances as well. So elemental resistances and physical resistances. So there's that. You could run Diona, you could run Noelle, you could run Jinyan, you could run any of those characters. So yeah. Now, the reason I would not recommend a cryo support for Raiden Shogun is actually because you want to play Raiden Shogun in her ultimate form a lot more than her normal form. She's going to be doing a lot of electro damage in her ultimate form, so because Superconduct only decreases your physical resistance, it won't really do anything for your electro resistance. So yeah, that's why I wouldn't run cryo support with Raiden Shogun. Unless you're actually going with a physical Raiden Shogun, you guys can definitely do that as well. If you want to go with a physical Raiden Shogun, then yeah, go ahead. If you want to cryo support, go on. If you want to also do a freeze comp with Raiden Shogun, you can also do that as well. But anyway, guys, that's basically been the entire video. So if you guys agree with this build guide and think that maybe some parts of it could have been better, like, you know, let's say I could have included a weapon, or maybe I was just waffling a bit too much, then please do tell me, because I do have a bit of a waffling problem, if you guys couldn't tell. So, yeah. Anyway, guys, I have been Carvenus14, and still am, and I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your day. I will see you all very, very soon. Goodbye.